Well, all right, man, here we go. Lakers Nuggets. I love this matchup. The Nuggets have had probably the most aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball this whole season, with Jokic being the most entertaining player in the league. AD is playing like a one-man defensive force right now. LeBron potentially getting more juice for, matchup hunting and all that stuff, so let's dive into it. There's not a whole lot to take from the regular season matchups because all the times they played each other were before the trade deadline, and even within the games, some games, important players were missing or they didn't play a lot of minutes or whatever. But the one thing you could find in there was that when Jokic was in the post, the Lakers, if they were going to bring two, they were going to do it pretty much after he made his move, And I think that's the first interesting thing where, like in the Suns series, when we saw single coverage on Jokic with like Ayton and stuff, well, Jokic just wasn't really missing anything. Between the back downs and just all the pump fakes and the footwork and the hook shots and all of it, right? Well, Anthony Davis, of course, much better defensively than Ayton or whoever the Suns could throw at Jokic in post-up defense. At the same time, there's definitely a weight difference between Jokic and AD. So Jokic might be able to back him down, but I would trust AD to not pick up a bunch of bad fouls. I would trust him for his positioning to be good, and I would trust him to have good contests on Jokic. And then as far as bringing the extra help, well, that's the scary thing with this Nuggets team. I mean, the timing's got to be perfect, right? I mean, the easiest thing to do is have whoever is playing off of Gordon help, but the Nuggets are ready for that because they'll put Gordon in the dunker spot or they'll run stuff with him and Jokic, so we'll see there. I'm imagining that LeBron is going to be guarding Gordon. I also think when like Bruce Brown or Christian Brown are in the game, LeBron will be on those guys a bit as well to be that help defender. It's possible for like Jared Vanderbilt to be in that spot as well, but it just seems like LeBron guarding the not as great shooter on the opposing team is just kind of a given at this point. I'm assuming we're also going to just see a lot of swipes in on Jokic post-ups as well, where it's going to be Reeves and D'Lo and Vanderbilt and LeBron, and just however the Nuggets are spaced out to where the closest defender is there. Like, you got to try to make him at least a little uncomfortable. But this is the scary part against Jokic, right? You bring two and you make it obvious, then you're just getting killed in all the backdoor stuff, skip passes, whatever. And then if you single cover, you might just make every shot. So you got to find that perfect in between, and we'll see if they can find it. But at the same time, if AD is holding up really, really well, then there might not be as much pressure to bring extra guys. Another thing too is like how much is AD gonna dare Jokic to make 3-pointers, let's say, when Jokic is out there? Because if you stay glued to Jokic out there, then you're just giving them a bunch of backdoor cuts and all that. Now, of course, with the Nuggets, it's not just Jokic post-ups. We're also gonna think about like the Jamal Murray Jokic two-man game. As far as who guards Jamal Murray, you got some options. I mean, of course, they had Vanderbilt on Ja for a good amount of that series. That you had Vanderbilt start the series against Steph. Eventually, it was like Schroeder, more so on Steph. I don't know where they're going to go with that. And of course, the scary thing about guarding that action is you can't really put two on Murray because then you're potentially giving Jokic the middle of the floor or whatever. And so, I mean, they're going to need just another amazing defensive performance from AD here where like he might have to be in a, what's the technical term, high drop to where Murray can't just flow into pull-ups, but then it allows AD to get back to Jokic. And then hopefully in that time, who's ever guarding Murray between Vanderbilt or Schroeder or whoever can then, stay on his back basically. Now, I say they might have to go to that. I don't know if they're going to start with that. I mean, it would not surprise me if their base coverage was AD in a normal drop, not a high drop, not a deep drop, just like, I don't know, a foot behind the screen, if you will. Now, within that, another thing that the Nuggets will do, or Murray specifically will do, is sometimes he will try to force the big to switch onto him, right? So he'll like come around the Jokic screen and then he'll sort of like dribble to the side to where the big's got to come out there with him. And sometimes the guard can get back to him, but sometimes, again, they force the switch. And, that just sounds like a world of problems if Anthony Davis ends up stuck on Jamal Murray for any defensive possessions where Jokic is on the court. And within all this, of course, can D'Lo and Austin Reeves and Vanderbilt and LeBron, not get beat on the MPJ, KCP, Bruce Brown, Murray when he's off ball, cuts and random off ball actions and all that stuff, which, some of that is similar to how the Warriors do it. Not exactly the same, but like there's some world of similarity there. Is it possible we could see some sort of like intentional switching and then doubling from the Lakers on Jokic Murray stuff? I would guess no. I mean, some teams have tried that in the past, but I just think they're going to want to keep AD in the paint as much as possible and on Jokic as much as possible. We're also going to have to see with MPJ in this one. I mean, he's had weird playoffs up to this point where, I mean, some games he's a knockdown dude. Other games it's like, okay, why'd you take that shot? We'll see if he's just directly involved in the Nuggets offense, the handoff actions and all that, as opposed to just be in the corner a lot. Now, as far as who's going to be guarding MPJ, that's going to depend. If they want Vanderbilt to be on Murray like they were doing with Ja and Steph for some of that series, then, somebody smaller could be on MPJ, right? Because I imagine you're going to want LeBron guarding Aaron Gordon to be a little more of a help guy. I wonder if this could mean like Rui becomes like kind of a big deal for the Lakers in this series where, hey, we need somebody who's like almost MPJ's height, so go ahead. Now, if they want to go with a guard on Murray, then okay, you can put Vando on MPJ, and that seems fine. Is that enough on that side of it? Let's go to the other side of the Nuggets guarding the Lakers. And I'll get to pick and rolls and all that stuff, but I want to start with LeBron, because the end of the Warriors series was pretty encouraging to me with just how athletic and still full of stamina LeBron looked like, where he was matchup hunting a little bit more, getting that Steph switch in one of those games, and the post up on Andrew Wiggins late there where he looked like he was, 33 as opposed to 38 or whatever, right? And I'm just thinking, with this Nuggets team between Jamal Murray and MPJ, just are there enough defenders on the Nuggets to where LeBron can kind of target a little bit more? Now, again, it's not going to be like, early 30s LeBron where he's able to do it possession after possession, but if he's got a little bit more of that in the tank, then I think that's pretty scary for the Nuggets. Now, I think Aaron Gordon's going to start on him. I think Gordon should do at least an okay enough job in being strong enough to not get pushed out of the way when he's guarding LeBron. Bruce Brown, there's a height disadvantage there, but he's strong if he ends up having minutes on LeBron. But look, we've seen with the Lakers, when they get into the LeBron screening for Austin Reeves or a guard screening for LeBron, like Schroeder screening for LeBron or whatever, and whenever he's able to get downhill off of that stuff or able to force the switch again, then he's getting into the post more. And I'm just really interested to see how the Nuggets deal with that stuff. And it's possible I'm overestimating that, but I don't know, it just seemed like LeBron was able to tap into that more by, the tail end of that Warriors series. As for some other stuff, so I imagine it's a whole lot of Jokic guarding AD. And so right there, AD face-ups, AD post-ups, AD trying to take Jokic baseline, what does that look like? Is Jokic going to be able to stick with him? Because the thing there is, obviously AD's more athletic than Jokic. Jokic is huge, and so that does help him a bit when it comes to guarding in the post. Now, for what it's worth, when I dove into some of their regular season stuff, there were some possessions where Aaron Gordon guarded AD in the post, and then Jokic was on, a wing or a guard that they were content with him being on. But this Lakers roster is much better than when the Nuggets were able to do that to him much earlier in the season, and I don't know. My bet is we don't see a whole lot of that. So anyway, let's get to Jokic screen defense and all that. So as we know, in the Suns series, when it was KD and Book on screens, Jokic, he was high up on the ball, level of the screen, two to the ball, whatever phrase you want to use, as they did for most of the regular season. It was very successful in the first two games of the Suns series. Suns got a little more comfortable with it, as well as put more shooters in the game. Booker got better at making the skip pass and stuff. But eventually, the Nuggets, they were just so much better than the Suns. It was what it was. However, we remember they also dropped with Jokic on CP, right? And so what does that look like against the Lakers? Well, I don't know how much LeBron AD pick and roll we're going to see because they haven't spammed it like that in these playoffs. But at the same time, I think a reason for that was because the Grizzlies, they had Xavier Tillman guarding LeBron sometimes. They were okay with that switch, and the Warriors had Draymond on AD for most of that series. They were okay with that switch. So it might be a little different against the Nuggets. Now, I would imagine the Nuggets still want to put two to the ball or level of the screen, whatever you want to say again, versus a LeBron AD screen if we see it like that. But it's LeBron. He's going to make the right play. Similar to Jokic. You double Jokic in the post, he's going to make the right play every time. LeBron will also make the right play every time if they put two to the ball on him around screens, right? And so whether that's AD rolling, whether that's a skip pass to D'Lo or Austin Reeves or Rui Hachimura or whoever the hell, So we'll see with all that. And again, we will see if the Lakers want to really lean into the LeBron AD two-man game like that. Now, if it's Austin Reeves, if it's Schroeder, if it's D'Lo coming around screens from AD with Jokic there, that's also interesting. I don't know what they're going to want to do between two on the ball, putting him in a drop similar to CP. And of course, look, if he's high up on it, it's daring those guys to make decisions. If he's in a drop, it's daring those guys to make shots. And we've seen throughout various times of these playoffs, look, sometimes D'Lo's pull-up jumper is cooking when he's snaking through the lane and whatever. Austin Reeves, remember that game one against the Grizzlies, they were in drop and he was making the pull-ups. So we'll see with that, but also it's going to matter between KCP, who is going to be on one of Austin Reeves or D'Lo. I don't know exactly. My guess would be D'Lo, but I could be wrong there. Bruce Brown is going to be on one of those guys whenever he's in. Although weirdly enough, there were some possessions in the regular season stuff where Bruce Brown was on LeBron, which, okay, take that for what you will. Another matchup thing for Denver, don't totally know with MPJ. If the Nuggets, or if the Lakers are going to go with Schroeder over Vanderbilt, then MPJ is just going to have to guard somebody smaller than him pretty much. Now, if Vanderbilt's in the game, I would imagine MPJ will be helping off of Vanderbilt. This does also mean that Murray is going to be having to guard maybe Austin Reeves or whatever, and okay, we'll see there. If Reeves tries to cook Jamal Murray in some one-on-ones, what does that look like, or however you want to make the matchups happen. Anyway, the part you're really waiting for, will I pick against the Lakers again and risk going 0 for 3 picking against LeBron James? And also, will I betray the NBA nerds and not pick the Nuggets? Look, I said this before, I'll say it again. I like this Laker team very much. Please do not interpret me picking against them for now a third time, there you go, as me not liking them. I love LeBron, and if they win, I will gladly be like, hey, I was wrong again, and we'll keep this thing going. And look, with the way LeBron looked at the end of the Warriors series, with, more post-ups and all that, that's definitely a fear for the Nuggets, depending on where he's at with that stuff. And AD is going to have the best chance of anybody to slow down Jokic. I get it all. And I've also got some fears about, MPJ and his up and downness in the playoffs. And, will Aaron Gordon score enough points? I see the blueprint for the Lakers to win this thing. But between, how good the Nuggets defense has looked around Jokic, and, he's doing his job defensively, which is typically, get high up on the screens and stuff, at least against the best players. And just the well-oiled machine that they are on offense, the way they play off of him, or if he's just going to have to make every shot he can do that. This thing could end up just coming down to how well Jamal Murray plays. I think he's going to be very good. Not nuclear super-duper bubble Murray, but very good. And so I'm going to go Nuggets in, 6 or 7 like I always do.